TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz announces that his two main objectives for the defense establishment aims to thwart Iran's nuclear program alongside Tehran's support for its terror proxies throughout the Middle East. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts that he and President-elect Donald Trump see eye to eye in relation to the Iranian problem. The Iranian-proxy Ansar-Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi-tribe in Yemen, pledges to continue fighting Israel and the United States. Israel deplores the blatant anti-Semitic attacks which were directed toward Israeli citizens in the streets of the Dutch capital, Amsterdam, alongside efforts by the International Criminal Court in The Hague, which represents a line of the institution and criminal gangs that are exploiting Dutch soil to target the state of Israel and its people.
A clear line connects the two anti-Semitic attacks against Israel that we have seen recently on Dutch soil, the reprehensible legal assault against the State of Israel at the International Court in The Hague, and the violent assault against Israeli citizens on the streets of Amsterdam. In both cases, there was dangerous anti-Semitism, the goal of which was to render helpless the Jews and their state, to deny our state the right of self-defense, and to deny our citizens their very right to life. Yesterday, we marked Kristallnacht, which occurred 86 years ago in Europe. It was a brutal and violent assault against Jews just because they were Jews. To our regret, in recent days, we saw pictures that recalled that night. On the streets of Amsterdam, anti-Semitic rioters attacked Jews, Israeli citizens, just because they were Jews. But there is one great difference between that night and our time. Today we have a state, government, and army of our own. We have the ability, the readiness, and the determination to defend ourselves and to demand that others carry out their responsibilities. This is exactly what we have done.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in an address he made over the weekend, continued by reiterating Israel's demand of the Dutch government to hold those responsible for the anti-Semitic attacks to the fullest extent of the law.
Immediately following the reprehensible assault, I called the Dutch Prime Minister. He told me that he was ashamed, that is what he said, ashamed that such an ugly anti-Semitic attack had occurred in his country. I demanded that he deal with the rioters to the fullest extent of the law and also protect the Dutch Jewish community. Foreign Affairs Minister Gideon Saar and Knesset Speaker Amir Ohana, who went to the Netherlands, did likewise.
It is important to know that while the International Criminal Court is situated in The Hague, it has nothing to do with the Netherlands or its people. Moreover, those responsible for the reprehensible assault on Israeli citizens visiting Amsterdam included groups of violent Islamists from Morocco and Turkey. Therefore, Netanyahu explicitly highlighted that the violent incidents that were seen in the Netherlands do not only threaten Israelis, but rather it also threatens the Netherlands itself and the entire world.
Attacks of this kind threaten not only Israel, but endanger the entire world. We have learned something from history. Wild attacks that start against Jews never end with the Jews. In the end, they spread to all of society and pass from country to country until they burn all of humanity. Therefore, I expect and demand that every responsible government take strong, vigorous, clear, and urgent action. In any event, we will do what is necessary to defend ourselves and our citizens. We will never allow the atrocities of history to recur. We will never capitulate to anti-Semitism or terrorism. We will continue to defend our state and our citizens in every arena against any threat, especially the Iranian threat.
Prime Minister Netanyahu went on to address his latest conversations with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump.
In recent days, I have spoken 3 times with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. These were very good and important talks designed to further enhance the steadfast bond between Israel and the U.S. We see eye to eye on the Iranian threat in all its aspects and on the dangers they reflect. We also see the great opportunities facing Israel in the area of peace and its expansion and in other areas.
Meanwhile, the Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem recently appointed Defense Minister Yisrael Katz, who previously served as Jerusalem's top diplomat, addressed senior members of Israel's Foreign Service, during the course of which he underscored the core objective of the ministry's efforts on the global stage.
Within the scope of the Foreign Ministry's capabilities, we had set a goal to challenge Iran. It includes advancing sanctions, isolation. We made significant achievements, including in the European Union to include its 27 member states, where consensus is required to pass such decisions. We succeeded to advance the adoption of decisions on severing sanctions versus Iran in relation to its ballistic missile and UAV programs, not only in relation to Russia, but also in relation to all of its regional proxies and the manufacturing processes.
Amid clear statements by President-elect Trump and members of his national security team, the Islamic Republic of Iran is expected to face a revival of the so-called maximum pressure campaign, which Israel is also keen on bolstering after relatively 4 lax years of limited enforcement.
The sanctions on Iran hurt it. Its new president, who is supposedly moderate, is making every effort to remove those sanctions. And while the sanctions remain and even intensify, Iran gets hurt and weakens, and its ability to bolster its proxies and all of its terror activities that it pursues as the so-called head of the octopus that activates its various tentacles are seemingly weakening.
Defense Minister Yisrael Katz continued by highlighting that under his leadership, Israel's defense establishment will double down on efforts to confront the Islamic Republic of Iran.
The goals, as I see them, are very clear. First, which correlates to activities undertaken here to thwart the Iranian nuclear program and preventing nuclear weapons from Iran, which is the most important thing that will accompany us in any of the activities and paths that we aim to advance. In parallel, we will prevent, thwart, and harm the Iranian aggression and its support for its proxies, its so-called tentacles, to thwart the nuclear program and to prevent the Iranian aggression. These are the main goals from which all other objectives are drawn.
It is interesting to know that Minister Katz also seized the opportunity to assert Israel's victory over Hezbollah, which he emphasized will be capitalized upon to alter the face of Lebanon.
We defeated Hezbollah, and the elimination of Nasrallah was the crowning achievement. Now it is our job to continue the pressure and here we will work together to materialize the fruits of this victory by ensuring that the security situation in Lebanon has changed.
Meanwhile, on Israel's northern front, where despite Defense Minister Katz's claim of victory over the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah, the terror organization continues to launch hundreds of projectiles toward Israeli territory, with a growing number of projectiles striking at civilian communities from the predominantly Jewish city of Carmiel to the Muslim village of Deir al-Assad, as well as the Christian Druze town of Kafir Yassif, where a number of civilian structures sustained direct hits, resulting in a number of casualties and damage.
I was asleep when the rocket landed, and nothing happened to me. The rocket hit the neighbors downstairs. We are a building of 5 floors. The rocket struck the 3rd floor, so the rocket reached 3 floors, on mine, my neighbors underneath, and the neighbor in the floor below them.
While Israeli residents of northern Israel are faced with daily strikes for over 400 days now, the IDF continues to exact a heavy price from the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, with dozens of aerial strikes reported over the course of the past 12 hours alone. Meanwhile, on Israel's most distant southern front, the Iranian-proxy Ansar-Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi-tribe in Yemen, launched a ballistic missile toward Israeli territory.
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a qualitative military operation targeted the Nahal Soreg military base southeast of Jaffa in occupied Palestine, and the hit was accurate, thanks to Allah, which led to a fire that broke out in the vicinity of the targeted site. The operation was carried out with a hypersonic ballistic rocket named Palestine 2, and it achieved its goal, thanks to Allah. The Yemeni armed forces, in response to the crimes of the Zionist enemy in Gaza and Lebanon, will continue its military operations, and these operations will not stop until the aggression stops. The siege on the Gaza Strip is lifted, and the aggression on Lebanon stops.
In contrast to the blatant lies of the type of projectile, as well as the success of reaching its intended target, an Arrow 3 surface-to-air projectile successfully intercepted the incoming missile over Jordanian airspace, thankfully causing no injuries or damage. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Separately, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based, please consider supporting our programs with a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.